Unit 5, Lesson 1, Tension between the Upcountry and Low Country. The essential question for this lesson is, why did tension continue to exist between the Upcountry and Low Country following the American Revolution? After the Revolution, the backcountry becomes known as the Upcountry. I want you to notice on this map how much more area of land the Upcountry has compared to the Low Country. So here's the Low Country, here's the Upcountry. What were the sources of tension between the backcountry and the Low Country during the colonial period when the backcountry was first settled? This was our starter question for Monday, November the 26th. I'm not going to read over the entire answer, but you will need to check your starter and you will need to make sure you have all of this information because we're going to use it in class this week. How did tension increase between the two regions during the American Revolution? Most Low Country merchants were actually patriots, while most backcountry farmers were loyalists. We know that this was not 100%, but we know that there were far more loyalists in the backcountry and far more patriots in the Low Country. And during the war, these people actually fought each other, killed each other, and looted each other's homes and all manner of mean things to one another, which certainly increased tension. Just a little reminder here, plantation home. Not everybody lived in a plantation, but a lot of people did who had power. And here's what an upcountry house looks like. So you can see that culturally, these two regions were very different. Another reminder here, the patriots were where? Primarily in the Low Country. The loyalists helped the British fight primarily in the backcountry. Why did tensions between the Upcountry and Low Country increase following the Revolution? Because of economic issues. And there are many economic issues that South Carolina was faced with following the war. Move this out of the way. Fighting the war resulted in destroyed crops and burned homes and in churches. British soldiers looted and stole many people's slaves, their livestock, their worldly possessions. The mercantilistic policies that one time gave our Low Country merchants a great market, a secure market, were now gone. If you remember, Great Britain required that we sell our goods to them. And while that may not have seemed fair, it certainly gave our merchants a place to sell our goods to. So the question is, who are we going to sell our goods to? Who will buy our goods now? Planters had borrowed money from British creditors, especially to buy slaves, for many, many years. Now they were broke and unable to pay their debts. Even state governments and the national government were in debt from this war and not able to pay for the weapons and the goods that we borrowed from other foreign countries, such as France. Well, to make matters worse, for 3 years after the war, our rice crops were really bad due to weather conditions, which was the main way that South Carolina made money. So if we can't make money with our rice crops, how are we going to pay off all these debts? The entire state of South Carolina was financially devastated. Our treasury was empty due to the war effort, and our state's debt was greater than any other state. And you may wonder, why is that the case? Well, that's because more battles were fought in South Carolina than any other colony. How our economic problems were solved. Look, South Carolina suffered economically until the early 1800s. So there was about a 20-year period of time there in which we were just not doing well. In 1793, Eli Whitney invented a machine called a cotton gin. This machine made it quicker and easier to produce cotton. Cotton, unlike rice and indigo, could be grown just about anywhere in the state of South Carolina. And once our farmers and planters began growing and selling cotton, we made money, we were able to pay off our debts, and we became a wealthy state once more. And there will be more about that later. In class, you are going to do these activities, so I'm going to flip through them really quick. And you're going to do this activity in class as well. That's the end of the first part of Lesson 1. This is what we will cover in class on Tuesday, November the 27th. Part 2 of Lesson 1 is the political tension after the war between the upcountry and low country. There were 3 main issues that created tension between the upcountry and the low country following the war. Excuse me. The location of our state capital, the lack of local government in the upcountry, and the lack of representation in the General Assembly. Just to review what the problem was, state capital had always been Charleston. It was the center of our government, it was the center of our legal transactions, but you know it was all the way down at the coast. The upcountry had grown tremendously in population. They wanted a capital city closer to the center of the state so that they could be more involved in the government and in the legal transactions. Local government was an issue. Remember the Circuit Court Act that set up 7 districts around our state? Well, the population in the upcountry had grown so much since then that there was a greater need for more courthouses and more local governments to help with everyday issues. Representation in the General Assembly. The population growth in the upcountry had led to many more whites in the upcountry and therefore more voters living in the upcountry. Still, the low country had many more representatives in the General Assembly, so it was not fair representation. How were these problems solved? Solutions, easing the tension. First of all, the County Court Act of 1785. Local county governments were created, county governments. The state was divided into 34 counties as compared to 7 districts. Each county had a town. It's called a county seat. Each county seat was given a courthouse and set up with local government. So much better local government. New state capital. The capital city was moved to the middle of our state. They named the city Columbia. They chose this land because 3 large rivers flowed right through here and would make it easier to get to. The Compromise of 1808. The General Assembly agreed to reapportionment of voting districts. That's a vocabulary word. Reapportionment means that they redrew the district lines. When they redrew the district lines, they gave the upcountry much more representation, more districts, therefore more representatives. However, the areas with more slaves still had a disproportionate control over the legislature. This is because slaves counted as property, and what they did is they didn't just draw the lines with equal land, they also drew the lines based on wealth. And so the areas where there were more slaves meant the people were wealthier and they got more control over the legislature. You're going to do this in class, so don't worry about this at home, but this will be done in class. Wanted to show you in class, we're going to talk about this original plat of the city of Columbia. You can see that it was literally drawn out, square off people's land. And then Columbia developed into a well-planned city with very straight roads and nice, neat squares. Now, these changes eased the tension some but did not eliminate it. The low country people were still in control of the government. One thing they feared was letting the upcountry people have more representation when the upcountry people were so culturally different from them. This was their concern. What if the upcountry people decided to end slavery in South Carolina? Because the upcountry people didn't own many slaves, maybe they were opposed to slavery and would just decide to get rid of slavery. So this was a real fear of the low country people and why they did not want them to have representation in the government. Well, all of this changed when everyone, low country and up country, started growing short staple cotton. I want you to look at the cotton bolls here. Each cotton boll has fluffy cotton, but it's filled with many, many, many sticky little green seeds. Removing those seeds by hand took a lot of time, a lot of labor, and therefore originally made cotton not very profitable for growing. Eli Whitney's invention of the cotton gin changed that. It separated the sticky green seeds from the fluffy cotton. This used to have to be done individually by hand. Now they've got to do is crank this machine, and what happens is the cotton gets combed through here, the seeds get separated and drop to the bottom, and then you have wonderful cotton ready to go to market. Short staple cotton could be grown just about anywhere in our state. When the upcountry farmers began growing cotton, then they also wanted slaves. When slavery and the growth of cotton spread into the upcountry, so did the wealth. Well, all of a sudden, the upcountry people are growing the same crop as the lowcountry people. They're using slave labor and they're making money. So the lowcountry planters began treating the upcountry planters with greater respect, and more laws were passed to ease the tensions. And that is the end of Lesson 1 notes.